Well, welcome everybody and good morning. Welcome to the webinar of Customer Contact in cooperation with Möbius, with UIPath, QuandaGo, Jacada, and SmartConnect. We're going to talk about robotic process automation. We're going to explain the how and why and the what of it, and we have 4 inspiring cases for you all. So enjoy it. We'll give people some time to log on to the webinar. But I see already some familiar names. So thank you all for joining. Should you have any questions during the webinar, ask them in the chat functionality within our GoToWebinar tool, and we will pick the most interesting or most applicable questions to ask our speakers after each presentation and each case. Should there be more questions than we can answer at one time, we will make sure that you will all get the list of Q&A later. We will also make, of course, a report of this RPA in your customer contact webinar. So already 20 people who are logged on. Good morning. Welcome to you all. We will do this webinar in English today, as we have some international people presenting and also some international people who have registered for the webinar. Good to see you all in everything that has to do with customer contact. So good morning, welcome to you all. Thank you for joining, and I'm going to introduce our first speaker to you, and that will be Geert Bille from Möbius. Geert, maybe you can explain a bit what is your role within Möbius, and I will say the floor is yours, or the webcam is yours.
Great. Phew, we passed that stage. Okay, so thank you for having me, Hans. I'm Gert from Möbius. I'm a management consultant. I work at Möbius. Möbius is a consulting group. We have around 100 consultants within Belgium, and we have our core expertise within the domain of process optimization, I would say, and working within contact centers. And the reason why I'm on this call today, I believe, is also because we have been seeing firsthand the rise of RPA at the different clients. So we were, I think, about 5 years ago doing workshops on process optimization. And then we saw how we identified some quick wins within those processes, such as, somebody is putting in some data in one system and then we need to put it again in another one. Why can't we try to automate this kind of stuff? And what we usually needed to do in that stage was tap on the shoulder of the CIO of the company, basically to try to lobby and get our quick fix within their IT program. And that was kind of difficult. And what we noticed is that with RPA coming up, we saw that some clients were able to get those quick fixes in their systems anyway. And so they were able to get those automations in their systems without a lot of IT effort. And that's where we saw that this RPA stuff could have a great potential. We started to pick up on it, and that's why we are, I think, also today now presenting part of it. For the meeting of today, we discussed with customer contact that it made sense to just give you a basic insight of what is RPA, just to make sure that we are all on the same page when we go into the details with the different vendors. So this is more RPA 101. With a quick introduction of what is RPA, what are the advantages, and how does RPA position itself in this market of automation and intelligence. So what is RPA? Very briefly, RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, and it means that we are talking about a piece of software that is mimicking the user desktop interactions. Two things important, I believe. First of all, it is software. It is not a robot that we're talking about. It means that in a most basic sense, you need to go to the website of the RPA vendor, you click on the download button, you install the software on your computer, you configure it, and you run it. And this software is then going to mimic user desktop interactions. What does that mean? Well, it means that it is going to be able to do the basic stuff that any user can do on his computer. That means you can copy and paste data from one application to the other. You can log into an application. You can open a mail, open attachments, move some files and folders, all that basic stuff. And as this software is performing those actions instead of you, it looks like it is kind of taking over your computer, and that's why we call it robotic process automation, because it looks like a robot has taken over control of your computer. I like to go a bit more technical because I believe that it helps people to really understand what RPA in essence is about. When you look at the software in its most basic form, it starts with an input, then it does some processing, and it provides an output. The input of RPA software in general is that it tries to understand your screen. So it just looking at your computer screen, and it tries to understand what does it see on that screen. And in the most basic form, it's just going to take an image of the computer, and with character recognition, it is going to try to identify what it can see. So for example, if you would be on a login screen of an application, it might be able to read that there's a username that needs to be provided on that screen. What you see, of course, that with the latest trends in RPA as well, is that a lot of those vendors are these days able to not only just read the basic image, but also go a bit further and also be able to identify the underlying code. So they are able, for example, in an SAP screen or Genesis, they are able to see exactly what are the different screens, what are the different fields exactly on my screen. But in essence, that's just trying to understand what is currently happening on the computer. And then you have the process part, and that's what you need to configure in the application, is that you need to say, based on some rules, if this is happening on my computer and I see a login screen with a username, then RPA software, you should take my mouse, hover over to the field, and start typing in the field my username. And that's actually only, I would say, one of the two basic things that this software can do at that point. It is actually at that point writing certain commands directly to the driver of your mouse and your keyboard. Maybe a bit too technical, but in the essence, it means that it is just the two things it can do at that point. It can take over your mouse and start moving around, and it can take over your keyboard and start typing things. So in essence, the RPA software there is really taking over the tasks that the user itself is normally performing, because that's also the only things we can do is using our mouse and our keyboard to perform things on the computer. So that's why, in essence, also this software is not touching the underlying systems. So you have a lot of applications on your computer. You might have Word, Outlook, Excel, but also then PDF, maybe Genesis, maybe other contact center software. And in essence, you are working on top of those applications. At no point the software is really diving into the details of the applications. Some might do, as I mentioned before, some of the vendors are evolving and also have some links directly with the applications, but within its essence, that's what it's about. Just to make it a bit more clear, I just wanted to show a quick demo of what RPA can be capable of. And this is a process that we have automated at Möbius. As mentioned, we are a consulting firm, and that means that we need to, at the end of the month, charge our clients for the work that we have performed. And here we have created a little script that is automating that monthly invoicing part. So what we need to do is we need to open our timesheet application. We need to log into it, and then we need to go to the project for which we want to invoice people. So here we go to that project. We download the timesheets, and then we go into Excel to just do some basic transformations that we have a very nice overview of the different profiles that have worked on the project and how much time and money this is corresponding to. And then finally, it is going to create a mail with that information in it. And so what you're seeing here is the robot at work in a very slow pace, because we want you also to be able to see what's happening. But here it is just, and I think that the video stopped, so I'm gonna make sure it is working. Here it is just showing, so it's going to the website. To speed it up a bit. Yes. And here it opens the Excel. There it goes. It's going to create a general overview, and then it will copy paste that information into a mail. And that's where the robot, if you can say so, is stopping. At that point, he will just provide you the mail as a user, and you as a user can still confirm if everything looks fine before you send it out to the clients. So a very tedious project, very administrative, non-value adding tasks that we have automated in this way. And this took us about 4 days to build something from scratch that worked in about 70% of the cases. So it was not full-blown working for all, but at least it could give you some ideas from the start. Okay, so that might give you some insights on the possibilities. On this slide, I just wanted to give you an idea on why RPA makes sense. Because a lot of the people, when they talk about RPA, they say, okay, if we do this, we are going to gain time and resources, and our people are freed up to do other stuff. That's right, but there are other great advantages of the software that should be mentioned as well if you make a business case. First one is the compliance part. By automating this, the software is able to log each and every click of the mouse, every stroke of the keyboard, allowing you to know exactly what has happened. It's also no coincidence that this started in finance in a lot of cases, because they need this kind of stuff, and they are able to log a lot of things this way as well. Secondly is, of course, quality. Compared to a human, there is no mistyping possible, no steps that are wrong performed or some wrong decisions taken. Thirdly is the speed. This is working faster than a user is doing. Although we must say that as you are working on top of the applications, the software is still limited by the speed of the applications itself. So if you have a very slow SAP system, then the software isn't going to be able to speed it up, because you really work within the user interfaces of those applications on its own. A fourth thing is the continuity. And it might be interesting for contact centers as well to make sure that certain parts of the service can run not just within the opening hours, but also outside of them. And this robot doesn't care if he needs to work in the weekends or at night. And then this one seems like a strange one if we explain this to clients, is satisfaction. Because the moment that we introduce RPA within a company, the first thing that employees think about is, oh, the robots are going to take over my job. And what they see is, when we do a first proof of concept, because that's how it usually starts, is that the employees start to understand that the job that is taken over are really the dull, frustrating, non-value added tasks. It's about taking over the ballast, the things people generally don't really like, so that you can focus on the fun part. And what we actually see, and it's really the truth, it looks maybe a bit strange, is that those people in the end start coming to the department who started it and say, hey, but if the robot can do this, maybe he can do this as well. And you get this ideas coming into that department, rather than you need to push within the organization to continue. And then finally, of course, as we mentioned, in terms of costs, you can reduce process costs quite quickly. And the price of the software has also decreased quite big over the last years. So it doesn't cost that much anymore as it had been costing maybe 10 years ago. Okay, so that's about some basic advantages. And then I just wanted to highlight what's the difference with, let's say, a basic, typical system integration project, because you could decide also to automate things in a much more, let's say, deep way within your applications, really trying to understand how does application X work, application Y, trying to connect them as much as possible by writing a lot of coding and so on. And this is what I would say a typical IT project looks like, with analyze, design, build, test, deploy, and so on. What you see within RPA is that the analyze phase of RPA is a lot less time consuming, because you're only looking at the user interactions itself. You don't need to understand the underlying systems. Also in the design phase and the build, this is a great advantage. In the build phase, for example, the software that is existing today is kind of becoming drag and drop, meaning that you are creating Visio or Visagi-like process flows within these applications to make it clear how the steps need to evolve. To be honest, I believe you still need some IT-minded people in there as well to make sure that all the details are working. But it's a lot less time-consuming than if you would really code it within in Java and so on, or other applications. And then finally, in terms of testing, it takes less time, and also for deploying. So that's why we say that in terms of speed, you are not talking about months or year when you're talking about an RPA project, but more in terms of, I would say, even weeks. And because the timing is a lot less, that also means that in terms of costs, it's a lot more interesting. Then to conclude, before I end my part, I wanted to make sure that for you it's also clear where RPA stands a bit within this market of automation and intelligence. And that's why we created this very basic slide with two dimensions. One dimension is about the maturity of the market of today of a certain technology, and the other shows the degree of intelligence that is used within those applications. And what you see is that RPA is on the bottom left, because there is no I in the basic RPA. The intelligence part isn't really there. In its most basic form, it is just trying to take information, apply a basic rule. If X is greater than, then do this and that, and then do something with it. It's the same as, I would say, even basic system integration. The market has matured in those areas, is stable. If you are now selecting an RPA vendor, you will get a good customer service. There's a lot of online knowledge databases and so on. They have, I mean, extremely much clients as well. If you look at how the market has grown over the last years, so that's okay. If you go to other technologies such as NLP, natural language processing, cognitive computing, and so on, there things are still evolving a lot, and the market is less mature. You get more maybe intelligence, but the market is less mature. So I believe that if you're looking at the starting point for automation, then RPA is probably the way to go. To conclude, I know that we have now, I think, about 4 vendors that are going to explain you or propose you some solutions. I just want to highlight that some of those will be, let's say, RPA vendors in its most purest form, while other will probably also propose you solutions that are more automations itself. You could maybe categorize them within system integration, but the advantages that those solutions have is that they are specific for a contact center context, and therefore a lot of those things are already pre-built. So you don't need a lot of customization to get some automation working. So just to let you know that what you will be seeing is a combination of pure RPA, I believe, and some more system integration automated solutions coming up. Okay, that's it for my part. If you do have some other questions, I believe we have a question box in the bottom somewhere where you can also put some questions. I'm very happy to answer them after the call via mail, or if you have some time left at the end. But then I leave the floor to the other people.
Yes, for housekeeping, just from my end, please post all your questions in the chat or the question area. Due to the tight schedule, we may not have time to cover every question, but we will make sure there is a follow-up and you will receive an answer to them. So do not refrain from posing all your questions.
We have a first question for Gert from one of your colleagues. Gert, how do you handle errors in the input when working with an RPA application?
Oof, that's already a detailed one. Errors in the input. I'm trying to understand what you mean. So the thing is that within the RPA applications, I think if it answers the question, you're working on top of the applications. So you are using the user interfaces that are existing within your normal application. So if you would like to put some info into an SAP system, for example, and the thing that you're trying to fill in the telephone number is just some basic text, it is going to block at that point, just because there's a validation that is already happening. If it has this kind of validation or this problem, then it will create like an error log. It will create like a little Excel file showing you, okay, I tried to do maybe 100 automations for you, 100 jobs, and 3 of them missed. And then you as a user at the end of the job are able to identify them and do them manually or try to find where the problem was. If that's an answer to the question.
Yes, okay, and I see another question coming up. Somebody who had a previous RPA experience and said one of the problems he experienced was instability. Even slight change on a form to be filled was a problem, or software update we have to correct every week.
Yeah, it can be true, and that's what I mentioned with, it depends on how far your RPA is able to detect the systems. So if it can just detect the image, that means that if on that image a form changes a bit, then it will have difficulties to recognize exactly the same info. So in the best case, the software is able to identify the underlying fields, and then a change in the layout doesn't affect your in the other case, this can be an issue. I mean, we don't have the time to go into the details, but there is a selection process that you should look at when looking at an RPA project. And one of them is the stability of your systems. If you have a system that is changing every week, and you have a lot of those agile systems where you have a lot of updates coming up, you really need to check if your software is able to grasp the underlying fields. If not, then this might be an issue, and I think that's what's mentioned there. So the selection phase is critical, and it doesn't work for all your processes, but for a lot it can work, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Chris van Houwermeijer from Byway. I hope this answers your question. Okay, time to move over to our next presenter to bring you a first practical use case in RPA from UIPath. Please welcome Hugh Williams.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. Yes, my name is Hugh Williams from UIPath. We are a leader in intelligent automation and RPA. My role within UIPath is to, as a practitioner, a contact center practitioner, to drive intelligent automation specifically in contact center and customer experience environments. What I want to do today is to walk through our view on the world, and certainly some of the opportunities to automate specifically in contact center and customer experience environments. Before I do, can I just check if you can hopefully see my presentation and screen?
Yes,
should be
excellent.
Okay, let me go full screen.
Yes, okay.
Turn off my camera, and hopefully you should be able to see from here. Yeah. I want to walk through some examples of intelligent automation, a customer journey, and how an agent, a customer, and a number of different personas in the end-to-end customer journey will drive a much more compelling and much more enhanced customer experience as a result of automating. So let's look at some of the challenges we're seeing in the industry. So we recognize that leaders in industry see the importance and that customer experience is a high business priority. There's no surprise that as a result of that, they are investing in it. Large-scale organizations and enterprises are investing heavily in customer experience, but there's a real stark contrast to that those organizations, or many organizations, are not seeing the benefit of that investment. Less than a third of businesses are truly experience-led. What is causing that? What's driving that particular issue? Why aren't those organizations achieving that particular outcome of that investment? Well, let's look at that sample contact center technology stack. And there's one thing that we're all aware of. That particular technology stack has rapidly and essentially driven much more complexity, much more sophistication, and has gathered many point solutions. It has fragmented data. it has multiple touch points, both for customers, for agents, for the middle and the back office. A huge challenge for any organization to be able to drive a seamless end-to-end customer experience and in a cost-effective way. Customer experience data is fragmented across those multiple systems and platforms. The agent, or more fatally, the customer, is having to stitch together that journey, maybe calling multiple times, maybe contacting across multiple channels, having to repeat themselves, and in many cases, having to contact multiple points of data within an organization, lacking self-service, lacking functionality within those digital channels. Complex integrations are costly and difficult to maintain. And of course, as a result of that, the front and back office are siloed, disconnecting the customer and obviously creating friction across the entire end-to-end customer journey. So where does RPA, where does intelligent automation fit in? How can we solve this particular issue? And it's seeing automation and seeing, in our case, UiPath as the glue to enable all of these channels and data points to be connected, and most critically, to be able to automate them. So to be able to create long-running workflows, to enable an agent to trigger a particular task or activity, to enable a customer to request a particular task or activity in a self-service platform. It's removing the friction between each of the channels, each of the data points, and allowing that particular customer or that customer journey to be managed in a seamless and cost-effective way. Let me illustrate further on that, and let's look at the results. We see, and often, a decrease of average handling time in the contact center of around 40%. What's driving that? The first thing, it's robots pulling together the context. It's accelerating the way that data is collected from multiple sources, configuring the robot to understand where the customer is in their journey, automating the ID and verification, being able to present the last transactions, to be able to calculate specific tasks and activities. Together with that, the robot is able to fulfill the task. So once the context has been set, the information has been shared with the agent is able, with one click, to trigger a robot on the desktop to perform that task, removing all of that silent time. And on average, 30% of a call in a contact center is pure silent time, where an agent is seeking and finding and executing the request. And the final part is the post-call processing or wrap-up. Really eliminating that, removing all of that administration tasks and requests, handing off to middle and back office. All of these tasks are automated and the robot is taking care of that particular task and activity. Other metrics that are influenced are an increase in customer satisfaction, happier customers, more personalization, less errors, ensuring that a customer is served with the path of least resistance. And when they are hitting that moment of truth, when they're speaking to a contact center agent, it's in context and the agent understands how to deliver that particular request. First contact resolution rates are increased as a result, again, of accuracy and empowering the agent with more data to serve that customer at that first point of contact. The interface, the agent presentation layer is simplified, removing the need to navigate to systems. The robot is taking care of that navigation, presenting that information to an agent. So with one click, they can trigger that request, dramatically reducing the training times, and of course, allowing the agent to become multi-skilled far quicker, to be able to manage and handle more complex interactions. Robots themselves are supporting in the compliance and security. You can configure a robot as a second pair of eyes, running in the background, checking against fraud databases, checking the customer record, but also ensuring that the agent is sharing the right information, removing the need and removing the potential risk of downstream complaints and breaches in compliance. Agents are happier themselves. The satisfaction for an agent is increased considerably. They're focusing on the customer conversation, not the mundane tasks of processing or administering the particular request. But the real opportunity with using RPA and intelligent automation to implement transformation is speed of build and speed of deployment, where typically our customers are achieving these types of results and starting their RPA journey in automating a customer journey in typically 8 to 12 weeks, simplifying the speed of build, out-of-the-box connectors, allowing organizations to very quickly build in an agile way, deploy and scale. Let's look at that in a bit more detail. Let's look at the 4 cornerstones of opportunity in the contact center. The first is to empower customers to self-serve using unattended automation. That's automation sitting within systems, within IVRs, within chatbots, within portals, unstructured email, all of those digital non-voice channels where a customer would typically start their journey. One of the main issues with self-service, and we're all driving towards enhancing self-service, is that still less than 10% of customers across industries are self-serving. Those channels lack the functionality, the data, and the opportunity to allow that customer to interact in those channels. Robots answer that question. It allows you to build particular transactions, push more data on IVRs, portals, and chatbots, adding that intelligence. One great example is during the early stages of COVID, many of the airline industry, many of our airline industry customers lacked the functionality to process refunds on their website, for example. Booking a flight is obviously a very mainstream event, but refund processing cancellations is not. A robot is able to be built and was able to be built to perform that transaction when the customer was logged into that website, adding new fields into that website to ID and verify the customer, to understand the eligibility of a refund, and to process that refund in the back office systems and platforms. A robot was very agile, is very agile, can be built and deployed across multiple channels. Similarly, the relationship directly with the agent, allowing customers to be taken from that self-service journey and by exceptional design, presenting that contact to an agent where the robot empowers them with more data, accelerating and presenting all the data from multiple sources, but allowing with one click that agent to fulfill that task and to deliver the outcome. In that case, it simplifies the end-to-end, just enterprise-wide automation, seamless handoffs between self-serve and served and into the middle and the back office, creating one office end-to-end servicing where the robot is supporting that transaction right the way through that long-running workflow. And finally, as I said earlier, seeing the results very, very rapidly. So simple building of robots, building of workflow, orchestrating that workflow across the enterprise to allow that customer to interact with your brand without any potential friction, and of course, in an extremely cost-efficient way, but in also delivering a very personalized interaction, pushing more data. The agent has more of a concept of where that customer is in their journey and how to support them. Let me give an illustration of that. Let's walk through an example in e-commerce and retail, where John is a 58-year-old business analyst working for a bank in the UK. He likes to consider himself digitally enabled, but he prefers to speak to someone in person. He's interested in purchasing a new TV. So he's already been to the store and now he's been online to their website. He has a question about the specific product. So he sees the telephone number on the website and he calls the sales line. In an as-is scenario, he is prompted to press 1 for sales and products. And then he's greeted by a contact center agent, Laura, who is able to, in this case, first look up John's details. While he's waiting on hold, she manually validates who John is and confirms his DPA. She's also trying to look for his customer history, all whilst John is waiting on hold. John then has a question because he has called before about a product feature. So Laura has to manually look up that product. She then is looking for the product feature and she's required to compare the products across multiple systems, maybe looking on the company website, product and marketing information. She's trying to understand the best fit for John. At the point where she is able to make those comparisons, she's offering the alternative product to John, which is more suitable, and then he is keen to upgrade. She then has to manually identify the cost of the product and the latest pricing, and of course the availability of that. So putting John further on hold, she has to manually check the availability, manually update the order, and then confirm all those details with John. A 6-minute call, not a personalized journey by far, and of course, very, very fragmented. Let's automate that end-to-end customer journey. Now let's look at how a robot can support both the customer and the agent. Again, the same scenario, but the first thing that's happening is with integration to an IVR, instantly the robot is able to recognize John and presenting Laura with a user interface with the context of the call. She can see that it's the second time John has called and all the previous product information is presented as well as the alternative products. So John is already greeted with a very personalized interaction. And we can see, of course, that the robot is then assisting Laura even further, popping a sidebar with some guidance. But a next best action is allowing Laura with one click to offer John a unique product offer. So availability for his segment with tips and guidance and support for upselling that product. She can then with one click update the order and the bot takes over to calculate the availability of the product, to check the shipping information and so on. What the possibility is endless, not only checking with product databases, not only checking with CRM platforms, but also with third-party logistics users. So checking the lead time for delivery and a long, long list of opportunities to inform the customer. What that leads to is not only over a 50% reduction in average handling time, but a reduction in errors, consistency in data, improved personalization and customer expectation. Compliance is improved considerably, as well as customer satisfaction. The agent themselves is able to focus on the conversation with the customer and not purely focus on sifting through looking for the data. All of this, of course, using your existing infrastructure, your existing data, and with as little impact to your existing IT data as possible. I'm going to just my final slide. I want to walk through. So where do organizations start on their journey? And it's true to say I've just presented a very involved end-to-end journey, but that's a kind of typical journey you would see in automating an end-to-end story. But most customers start with the simple, basic, removing some average handling time, removing the navigation to complex systems, but very, very quickly are able to move through to much more complex, much more involved processes involving AI and also involving deeper, long-running workflow, allowing an organization to accelerate value beyond its savings, and of course, pivoting the role of the contact center agent from an administration, reactive function into a brand-centric, focused and empowered contact center or customer engagement resource. I'll conclude there and hand over to back to Hans. I hope that was informative. If there are any questions, please do post them, and we will welcome the opportunity to dive deeper. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much, you. Very clear and good presentation that we saw from UiPath. We did receive a question which you already, I guess, partly answered. It was from Erik Bauer from klantcontact.nl, and he asks, do you need standardized processes and how do you deal with agent workarounds and systems?
Perfect, great question. Thank you for that. So what we are, first of all, in terms of the standard processes, typically, obviously within a contact center, one of the things that we enjoy, it's an industrialized environment. So yes, most of these are documented and they can be automated, but recognizing that every agent works in a very different way. So one of the areas that we also focus on is to be able to capture and discover those specific journeys, even things that are not documented. So empowering an agent to capture and to share that information, we use process mining and task mining to identify and to categorize that, and to then create the most effective customer journey or process to drive that agent behavior. There are obviously always going to be anomalies, so it's also empowering the agent with triggers on a desktop to be able to action off-script requests. So it's not just a case of automating the happy path, it's a case of driving that happy path, but empowering the agent with mechanisms to take that customer on any specific journey they need.
Okay, we had another question from Chris van Houwermeijer from Byway on the topic of privacy and security. How do you deal with third-party data and so on?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So certainly within our platform, we don't hold any data. We don't store any data in the configuration I've shared. So that was retained in that source and that source of origin. The robot is essentially moving that data around. So that removes a considerable amount of challenge around data storage. But also from a security perspective, we have seen many examples where now working from home, some agents aren't allowed to share that data, certainly in offshore locations in their home environments. So the robot is also able to mask data from the agent, yet allow that agent to trigger that request. So maybe holding some customer records or information, and all the agent will see is the information relevant to them. So it can work in its favor, but to answer the question explicitly, it's the data is retained in that source. So that's where the liability lies.
Okay, thank you very much, you. We'll move on to our next presenters, because for QuandaGo, we have Femke Oosterlink and Radboud Heining doing a dual presentation. So welcome, Femke, and welcome, Radboud. And we're very curious to find out what QuandaGo has been doing with RPA in customer contact. So good morning, Femke.
Good morning. Can you hear me all?
Yes, perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you, Hans. Good morning, everybody. I'm Femke Oosterlink, as Hans said, and together with my colleague Radboud, I don't know if you can put on your camera, Radboud, so you can wave at people. Together with my colleague Radboud, I will present an IPA case. An IPA, so not an RPA, but an IPA case within the telecom industry. First of all, let me start with making myself a presenter. And then you can see my screen normally. I hope that's the case.
Yes, perfectly.
Yes.
The connected experience platform we see.
Yes, that's correct. So this is in fact our baseline at QuandaGo. So first I will tell you what QuandaGo is, so who we are, what we do. Short introduction, then also what IPA is, because this is in fact an RPA webinar, but IPA is part of RPA, so I will elaborate on that. Then we will also see some real use cases, including some actual achieved results, so that might be interesting as well in different industries. And then we will finish off by giving you a demo or a presentation actually of a use case within the telecom industry and the implementation of IPA there. So yeah, what is or who is, let me quickly see why this is not working. So who is QuandaGo? Just a second. I have one problem, I think. You can see my screen, yes?
You see the screen.
Okay, so who is QuandaGo? Maybe let's start with that. QuandaGo is a technology company of Dutch origin, but we are now active in different parts of the world, also in Europe. So we are also active in Belgium, France, Italy, Germany, and of course the Netherlands, because that's where we originated from. We also have offices in the USA and in Asia. We are a Cloud CX company, so that means our software was actually derived from our own contact center outsourcing solution services. So we've been in the customer experience business for over 30 years, but actually our company in its current form, so QuandaGo as we are today, was started 2 years ago. We already have 100 million customer interactions at this point, and of course managed and counting. Well, the main thing that we focus on is actually CX in efficiency. So the best thing to do when creating customer experience and when thinking and designing customer experience is to avoid any inefficiencies. And inefficiencies, the causes of inefficiencies are mainly the fact that your interactions, so interactions we define as any interaction or communication you have with your customer, independent of the channel you use, when your knowledge, and your knowledge is the agent intelligence, but it can also be your knowledge of certain processes within the company, and your processes are not aligned. So when they are not aligned and not connected, that is what we see as the main cause of CX inefficiency. Now, it is the task of your contact center, especially your contact center, to have the interactions, the knowledge, and the processes aligned. Of course, they need to be aligned, but they also need to be connected. In order for them, because of the fact that they are connected, you can offer your customers a connected experience. So that means realizing CX efficiency has different advantages. It makes sure that you can provide omni-channel interactions. You have personalized engagement because we cannot deny the human factor. You have a 360 customer view, which is also important, of course. You have process automation, which is exactly what we're talking about today. You have the next best actions, can be advices, it can be part of marketing campaigns within a contact center, can be anything, and you have continuous conversations. So your customers, your agent, and your company are all connected. They reach customer experience efficiency, or they realize customer experience efficiency, and you can have certain results that aren't there when you are not connecting your experience. Now, we've identified 3 paths to customer experience efficiency. The first is, of course, improving your connections with customers on digital channels. I don't think I have to talk about this. Every contact center in the world is talking about this and wants to have this. So an omni-channel contact center is maybe one of the most important things today. Providing better intelligence for agents and employees. There's a huge emphasis on this as well. So making sure you have a knowledge base, that your knowledge base is easily accessible, maybe that your knowledge base can be published towards your self-service on your website, or your in-app, that your knowledge base can be published towards your chatbot. Those are important things. And the third thing, which is often not taken into consideration, is actually automating processes to accelerate the customer journey. Now, we just saw from UIPath that that is a very important thing to do. They are doing that as well. So it is, and they have achieved amazing results as well. So it's very important to take a look at your processes, look at what can be automated, and then accelerate them to make them accelerate the customer journey. So that's an important path actually towards customer experience efficiency. This is our connected experience platform. It has a lot of components, but we are talking today about our intelligent process automation. Now, just a short introduction. The slide looks like it has a lot of information, but I'm going to go quickly. So intelligent process automation is actually a collection of technologies in order to manage, automate, and integrate your digital processes. Now, the primary technologies that make up IPA, so intelligent process automation, are digital process automation, so any process automation within your digital channels. Robotic process automation, we just had a great presentation from UIPath about this, and of course, artificial intelligence. Now, let me quickly tell you what the difference is between RPA and IPA. So RPA, as we saw in Hugh's presentation, is designed specifically to automate routine repetitive tasks, while intelligent automation actually provides the capability to automate also non-routine tasks. So it makes sure you have a context. So intelligent automation integrates all the capabilities that are found in RPA. So most of the time, IPA is actually an add-on onto RPA, and it adds capabilities to process automation that are only possible with the intervention of complex business process. That means you can allow to have context-based decision-making. So it goes one step further, but you need RPA as well. RPA is the basis. Then you have an add-on which is called Intelligent Process Automation. And what is very interesting about IPA is the fact that it allows you or allows the business to be proactive in their automation journey. So we don't have the process today. No, we have a process tomorrow, something we want to predict. We want to know why the customer is contacting us. And that is something you can do with IPA. It will make sure that you identify new automation opportunities faster as well. Now we have an intelligent process automation engine. Originally, this was designed for processes within the contact center and customer service industry, but we are now evolving into other departments as well. What will it do? Well, it will support you and your operations with smart technology and customized business rules. So we had a question about someone saying, yeah, what if your input is bad? Well, and as the answer was from one of our colleagues, well, from Möbius, the answer, if the input is bad, then it means that your business rules aren't, or your validation rules, which are also business rules, are not up to date. So that is a very important thing as well here. These are customized business rules. So you have validation rules, which is basically basic business rules, and then you have customized business rules, which go a step further, somewhat more complicated. QuandaGo Intelligent Process Automation Engine also allows backend integrations, so it will collect and share important data across the company. This has three main advantages. First of all, you have a consistent workflow. That means your agent will work with a guided workflow, and customer questions, customer requests will be handled consistently across all channels. Second of all, you can automate your operations, as we saw in the UIPath presentation as well, and Möbius as well. We said this too, is that we want to route the easy questions towards self-service. So that's one of the most important challenges today in contact center. How can we quickly, easy, and without losing any customer satisfaction, how can we easily route towards self-service? Well, it can automate, an intelligent process automation implementation can automate operations without having to lose customer satisfaction or a human component. So it will reduce unnecessary contact to the minimum because we route it to self-service, and it will automate complex business processes at the same time. So you have to think about agents, and you are all in the contact center industry, so you know this. Agents are losing a lot of time. We saw it in UIPath presentation as well, are losing a lot of time looking up information to different systems. Getting that information together and making a decision is something that could be automated as well. And of course, you can become predictable, because nothing is more or has more impact on your customer satisfaction than exceeding customer expectations. So with this, you know why your customers are contacting you, and that always exceeds customer expectations. Now, as promised, I'm giving you some business cases or use cases with some of our customers, anonymized, of course. And this is the first process that we have automated. And the first one was new customer onboarding. Everyone knows this. In a contact center, new customer onboarding can be a complex task. It can have a lot of challenges, looking up information, having to ask information 3 times about the same thing. So everyone knows this who works within the contact center. And this automation of new customer onboarding was actually done at a retail company, an e-commerce company. And as you can see, they are doing it 40% faster. Second interesting business case was automating the return process. The return process, this was at a let's say a parcel delivery handling company, and what we did here was the return process was automated as well, 50% faster. So it really is a significant difference. As you can see, customer onboarding, but also returns process are processes that are that can be complex, but that are also very time-consuming and repetitive for an agent. Making the task of an agent more diverse will ultimately have an impact on your employee satisfaction, which is also very important to drive customer satisfaction, for example. Compliance management, this was actually at an insurance company. This is also an important process at insurance companies in the finance industry. Compliance management is very important. The main challenges there is the fact that it is very time consuming again, and the fact that not everything is analyzed. So most compliant management processes take place when somebody listens to a call or monitors a chat, but people cannot do that with 100% of all calls, of 100% of all emails, or all chats. And this is what we did here. We weren't just able to do it 52% faster. No, we were able to have all of the calls, interactions with the customer 100% analyzed. And then one of the newer ones we did as well, so this was actually some weeks ago, was automating case management. As you know, and has been said before, self-service needs to be routed towards repetitive tasks, repetitive requests need to be routed towards self-service, but you have some companies that really have complicated case management. So case management is actually when different departments need to work at one request or one case, as it is called in ticketing services, and this can be automated as well for the most part. So here we're talking about deadlines, but also distributing tasks into different departments, can be anything. Here again, we achieved a 50% faster result within case management. This was case management within the financial industry. These are some of our customers. So these are the industries in which we have worked and in which we have really been able to automate their processes in an intelligent way. And then I will go over to my colleague Radboud for your demo and presentation.
Okay. I will do it very quickly then in the 3 minutes time. What we wanted to show you in just a few minutes is let's explain something in the back end. Telecom providers in the Netherlands send out telephones and claimed these were for free, and in fact you did pay some money every month for it. So consumer organizations, they said, okay, that's not was not clear for the consumers, so they were able and allowed to send these phones back in, and there was a mass claim coming up, and one of our customers said, okay, there will be 50,000 people reacting on this mass claim. We set up a self-service environment, just a simple web page where people could log in, see based on a claim ID and their password, log in and see what was the status of their claim. Then they could fill in the claim, send stuff around the claim, and see the status about their file within this portal. So we set up the portal. In fact, the portal was looking and integrating with the orchestration layer and looking at the backend systems of, in this case, the telecom provider. And in this way, also by getting notifications via chat, email, or WhatsApp, the customer could see what was the status of their claim. But also when you wanted to go to the next step was, for example, the back office of T-Mobile being able to see what they should do. When not integrated within the system and automated for systems itself, people at the back office could log in and see what the status was, but also see what is the next step to do, what's the next step to take. For example, download and see the ID and check the data on the ID of the customer and see if this data is correct and if it's really the customer complaining and having the claim put in. And if, for example, go on, Femke. For example, if they have set up the right stuff on their claim contract. The consumer could enter within, that was in fact the main self-service insight way to give information to the customer via this page you see now. Then you can see that the customer was able to download the contract, sign it, read it, and also make a signature on it and upload it again. Then in the meantime, they also had a send label that they could download, put onto the telephone with a number on it, so the logistic company where they should send the phone to could also see which number, which telephone was connected to the customer. And so in the back end, also the logistic company only had to scan the phones, the phone code, the numbers, check if the phone was still working, and then in the central environment, all back office and people, also the customer at home, could see what the state of the process was. So in fact, a very simple way of automating a back office process and giving information about all the statuses to all the stakeholders, in fact, real time, based on the situation. And interesting about the QuandaGo platform is that we can also interact with the customer at the same time, as Femke just explained, via our interactions part. So what you see here on the left side. So what we did, in fact, was integrate backend systems, taking data out of these systems just for showing in our orchestration layer. We didn't take the data out of it, but just let people read it, let people change it if it was not correct, and then put it back in the backend systems. Then as an orchestrator, see what's the status at the different stakeholders of the process, and giving a lot of feedback to the consumer by giving them the right triggers to do the next step. So make the claim process going as fast as possible, and also this way giving information to everybody, but also make it measurable in providing data to all the stakeholders in this process. So I hope, I'm looking at the time, I think I should stop. So I hope this was giving you some insights in a way orchestrating process automation layer can help with the communication and making, yeah, let's say, rather complex process, backend process automated. Thanks for your time for now, and to the next presenter, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Radboud. And of course, we will share all the presentations with you. And I suggest also, Radboud, that we share this little presentation on your use case as well. It was a pretty good example on how you can really help customers on dealing with rather complex issues in a speedy way. Let's move over to the next one. If there are questions, you can still ask them in the questions tab on your screen. But right now we're going over to SmartConnect, and we have Maarten Laruelle who will give an insight on RPA.
So now you should see my screen as well.
Yes, there we go.
Let's put a face to that as well and show myself as well. So hi, I'm Maarten Laruelle from SmartConnect. I must say, after the previous presentation, I was a tiny bit confused because I was expecting something completely different with IPA, but that might be my Belgian nature here. I'm going to talk closely to that because I think our solution fits also a bit into that trend, at least. We're going to talk about how machine learning for customer service makes everything more convenient and personal. Come on. Yes. Quick, very short introduction to SmartConnect. I don't know if everybody knows us already. Maybe it should, because SmartConnect was already founded in 2013 by Peter Edel and Mark Tetrode, both experts in telecom and contact center technology. We're a Belgian-based company, meaning we make technology in Belgium, but also our SaaS solution, which it is that we bring to the market, is hosted in the European cloud environment. So every data stays over here at this moment, if data should be passing through our cloud or being stored into the cloud. Why did they start that company? They both had an aligned vision on making customer interactions way more smarter. So they wanted to make sure that they were faster, more reliable, and that at least they could give a elevated customer experience. We already have at this moment about 30 different customers, a couple of the logos here at the bottom. We can talk about that later if you want for now. What is SmartCall? SmartCall is a platform. That's what came out of their vision. SmartCall is a platform for companies obsessed with customer satisfaction and that want to deliver a wow effect in each customer interaction. A wow effect there. Now, earlier this week, I saw from my friend Scott Brinker. I don't know if you guys know Scott. Scott is Chief Martech. He's very known in the marketing space. He posted something that asked in this space, how is the correlation going to happen between technology and humans? From a marketing angle, he did that. I think the angle is exactly the same here for what we are doing in our customer service environments or contact centers today. He brought this picture to in the post where you can find the link here, where it says, okay, today humans work with technology, but technology is evolving over time. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but technology is evolving over time. And he really asked, okay, how are the two evolving itself? Where one path, of course, was that humans stopped working, but then he built out the case that how it can help and go hand in hand together and make 1 + 1 more than just 2 over time, and how it can make you grow and if your humans, your people grow faster as persons themselves. And if you look at the bullets that he brought up there, then he said, but you will be talking more to your customers. You will be collaborating more with your peers. You will have a much more clearer path to learning and teaching with each other. And you also have more time to think. And it's exactly the same if we hand the technology and the tools to our people in the contact center world. Also, then we give them this more freedom and we lift them as humans above what they have today. Because in essence, we're going to be more personal. They can be more personal because they will have less frustration. They will have less misunderstanding of what the people are saying and less chasing around, trying to find the right data into the systems, trying to find data from colleagues, for example. And in the end, they will have less stress. They will be a bit more happier, more creative people in your team. And as final result, of course, for your customers, for your final clients, you get a better wow experience. They will be much more satisfied with the experience that you bring to the table. Now, how are we going to bridge this gap in technology? We think at SmartConnect that you can embrace context in an augmented way to better understand your customer. So embrace the augmented context to better understand your customer. How are we doing that? First of all, we're going to analyze the information that we have available. We're going, based on that information, we are going to accurately predict the context that is available. We are even going to detect the intent out of it. Based with that context that we grab out of the information at hand and the intention that we have detected, we're going to route it as the best solution itself. So we're going to route it in the right language to the right person with the right expertise. But not only that, we're also going to route it with the right priority. Some things have higher priorities than other things. This means that we bring calm. We bring calm insight in your organization because the boring stuff that can be automated, we can get it out of the way and we can fully automate it. We can make sure that people are only working on the things with the right priority, things that are relevant for them. They don't need to dig through the data and start reading long chunks of information. And in the end, they will themselves be then more personal and they can be more creative and faster response to the data that they have at hand. How do we do that? We have a solution, SmartFlow it's called here, that works in any language. It's going to run AI on the solution. We're going to map big content pieces. So big content pieces will be captured and will be analyzed. Can also be interactive data, And in the end, what is key for us is, of course, we're going to route it in the right way. So we're going to route the contact center if that's relevant, or we're going to route a task in CRM or can fully automate. Very key here, the routing itself is as least disruptive as possible in your organization itself. We can adapt to the processes that are already in place and make sure it perfectly fits in there. Now, how do you start such a project? We can work there on a phased approach, sort of say. First typical phase that we see is, okay, we're going to work with, being it your emails, being it your tickets or web forms information, for example. We're going to, first of all, classify the information. So we're going to use our solution to look, okay, information is here, we understand it's that information, and we're going, based on that classification, give it to the right group of people with the right expertise. At the second phase of the project, we're also going to add the intent that we got out of it towards your people, in the sense that not only can the solution detect the classification and where it's meant for, but it can also detect the purpose of the mail itself and can start suggesting that to your users. Now, that's not what we're going to do in the first phase. That's what we can do in a second phase, of course. And then in a third phase, we can also start getting out all the boring information or the tasks that can be fully automated. People that ask for a document, we can just look up the document and we can send out the document automatically back to the user itself. What do we see here from a project perspective by existing customers? We already eliminate 90% of the manual routing. So because everything can be automated and can be detected, 90% of the routing is fully done automatically. We gain 50% of performance from your agents itself, and we can go up to 50% of fully inquiry automation. Concrete example that we have from a customer here, bank customer service. It's just a sample that I give here, but it uses the underlying technology here. It's an email that has been received to the customer service, and I'm sure you all are reading now at this moment that email, trying to understand it. But in the meantime, of course, the same mail can already be presented to your person in not important which tool. It can be an email box, it can be as a task in the contact center. And we have added automatically, of course, the classification. So we've done the skill-based routing here and put the mail in the right queue with the right priority. And next to that, here also the second phase is applied. We also see the intent. We also have here visualized the intent. Is it always going to be implemented like that? No, that depends on the use case and the process that you have. We just wanted to visualize here how the AI solution understands the purpose of the mail and presents that to your organization. And a concrete case that we have here, a Belgian energy company. They received about 10,000 cases per month. They did that via their website, where customers can then, via a web form and via selecting the categories, what they wanted to fill in the form for, or what they wanted the information about. And the result there was that only 60% was correctly classified. Only 60% of the tickets that came in such a way were correctly classified. Yeah, very logic. People don't know your internal process. People are not interested in it. They would just want to get rid of the problem and they just want to drop it. So what we did there, we made sure that 90% of all these tickets are automatically and correctly dispatched. Of course, there's still something coming in that is not automatable, but at least 90% is out of the way. And we already have now 10% of all the requests fully automated with an answer immediately back to the customer. Apart from that, with the intent suggestion that we've put into place here, we already have more than 50% of agent productivity increase today. The advantages, I think the others already in their own presentation, the previous presentation talked about it, but this was clearly also identified here at our customer. First of all, we increased the service level. there was an immediate handling of the forms, and there was already action the moment the information came in, because otherwise what we see today is, of course, you drop an email, it comes in Friday 4 p.m., or you drop a form, it comes in Friday late afternoon. The person that needs to handle it still has a big backlog, so he takes it up on Monday, he starts dispatching it on Monday, at earliest to get a feedback on Tuesday. In this case, Friday 4 p.m., the mail could already be in the hands of the person able to solve the solution if needed. Yeah. These immediate actions, of course, yeah, they are directly related to your Net Promoter Score, because if you answer quickly, people are way more satisfied about the service that you're handling than if you wait too long. On the other side, the advantage for our company here was, of course, the optimization of their resources, because the skill-based routing allowed for the blending itself. We were able to bring back, to optimize the teams and bring two teams together, people that were just handling the tools and people that were doing the intake and the routing there. We were able to just blend the team there and give more dedicated focus for everybody and more customer time for everybody there. And also, like I said at the bottom, we reduced the training time. Thanks to the fact that you can do the very clear skill-based routing. Yeah, people can be trained on something specifically and only have to tackle these kind of tasks. But on the other hand, with the intent, we can start suggesting, first of all, text-based, yeah, this could be the solution for you. But on the other hand, we also should start serving content to the agents so they immediately can take action based on the content, or of course, in the final stage, we could go fully automated. But the most important part here, of course, is it just brings more wow. Customer is just more, okay, they understand me, they're personal for me, they're happy about it. Now, how do we approach these projects, or what's next? Typically, what we do with our customers is we don't touch anything. We make it very easy for you. And you just give us 1,000 emails, 1,000 web forms that are tagged. We're going to analyze them, and we guarantee a warranted ROI on the feasibility of the project and the business case itself. So we make it easy. There's no impact on your side, and there is a guaranteed ROI from our side back to you. I was Martin Lerwell, and I quickly wrap up what I talked about. It's important to give a wow effect to your customers. We're able to blend technology with your people and that they can better work together. How did we do that? Yeah, we build a bridge by grabbing the data, analyzing and delivering to the people so they can immediately act on that, and we can do that in a very phased approach. That was what I had to present. Maybe it was a bit too fast, so maybe we leave some room for extra questions if needed.
I think there's definitely some room for questions. I have one, Martin. When can you implement this in my inbox? Because this looks like a great solution to structure my mailing.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So it's not yet B2C available, but we can look into that as for sure.
Okay. We do have a question again from Philippe from Byway. Is it based on keywords to rules? How do you deal with existing platforms?
No, it's a machine learning technology. Yeah? So we take in the full data, and what we're going to do is we're going to train the system based. Like I said, you get a set of data where we learn the system with, and then we start training that. So it's not just based on keywords. It's truly a machine learning solution that does more than that. Okay, it's Chris van Houwermeijer from Byway and not Philippe. I got that that wrong. So thank you very much, Chris, for the questions. If anybody else has questions, please ask them in the questions part or in the chat, wherever you want. I have no further questions at this moment for Martin. It was a very clear
a very clear presentation. So so thank you very much. And Dirk Alsert from UIPath is in his commercial role and says you can use the UIPath personal assistant for my mailbox. So I'm gonna check into that, Dirk, as well. Okay, moving over to last but not least, Jacada. The floor is for Adi Toppel. Welcome in Belgium, because I think it's one of the first times that we hear Adi speaking for a Belgian crowd, and we're happy to welcome Jacada in our webinar.
Thank you very much, Hans, and I'm just making sure you can hear me okay and you can see my presentation.
We can see your presentation. We don't see you yet. That's not a requirement, but
absolutely gonna come up. Can you guys? Is that okay now?
Yeah, super.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, and I do recognize that we've been through probably an hour and a half of RPA related presentations. So I'll try and keep this one as energetic as possible for the benefit of the crowd, and brief to the point. There are some pieces that will obviously overlap with other elements that you've heard in the previous presentations, but I'm sure it will still be interesting. And just a quick mention, while this is our first time presenting to a Belgium-specific event of this nature, we do have a pretty established customer base in Belgium, and very much involved in the market. Okay, so I guess just to kick it off, from a Jacada perspective, the way we view RPA and the way we view the contact center market. So we've been in business and automating contact center processes for over 2 decades. Contact center is definitely our area of expertise. We are not as much focused in back office automations as much as we are in the contact center. And what we see here on this first slide, the automation triangle, is really about driving both guidance, RPA, and a side-by-side, so a RPA bot and a customer agent and a customer service agent working together in order to serve customers in a better way. And there's a little bit of noise coming. Martin, if you don't mind, I'll mute you. Thank you. All right, so this is it. Now, when we talk about the contact center, so obviously, I think some of these images that you're seeing here on the screen would be very familiar and relevant to at least some of the folks that are in the contact center space. So many years have passed in the contact center space, but many of the problems are still the same. There are quite a lot of applications the agents have to work with. It can be CRM, mailbox, soft phone, green screens in some cases, Excel spreadsheets, and so on. The Jacada Agent Assist comes into as a layer on top of all these applications to provide the agent with a more cohesive experience, a desktop accelerator that allows the agent to both receive and input information, either coming from telephony systems, backend, CRM, billing, any type of system that the agent is working with, and kind of accelerate all that and bring it front and center for the agent in a way that they can act on the customer requests in a more efficient manner. And we ask ourselves, okay, so this is an existing pain point for many years. Why now? Why is it now more important than ever? So complexity is only increasing. It's not decreasing in the contact center. And work from home is becoming a little bit more of a norm. We actually had another webinar that we were running yesterday. One of the key data points coming from one of the top analyst firms is that only 1 in 5 contact center organizations believe that they will return to business as usual post the pandemic. Vast majority believe that work from home will become quite a bit of a norm. So obviously, with the contact center disruption in this case, and the complexity, the work from home, the nature, along with some advancements that have been made in the RPA space, as well as real-time speech analytic, provide us with a good platform to drive these enhancements, these agent assist enhancements to the contact center that involve both an understanding of customer intent through our ability to tap into the voice channel, as well as being able to leverage RPA to construct these automations, these accelerators for the agent to better serve the customers on the phone. And some of the benefits, I think some of them are clear, some of them have also been very well reviewed by the other presenters in this session today. So one thing that we see time and time again is obviously the training and ramp up. So you have agents that are now working more from home than ever before. Their ability to be trained and onboarded on the floor within the contact center is limited. More guidance, more next best action, more automation simplifies the training time. Reducing errors is, of course, and improving first call resolution is, of course, another key metric. Handle time, and when we're talking about contact centers that deal with sales, then obviously improving the ability for an agent to go through a sales cycle over the phone, if you will, is a very important aspect. And then the customer and employee experience are both things that we take into account. So if we provide better service to our contact center agents by giving them better tools, they in turn also provide faster, more efficient service to the customers that they are speaking with, hence improving the customer experience. And what I did actually while the other colleague presenters were going through this, I kind of shortened a bit our presentation to jump straight into the visualization part, just kind of keeping in mind that we've been at the session for over 90 minutes, so I think it'll be maybe a little bit better to go through a visualization. It would help a little bit more. So RPA was well covered before. Our colleagues from UiPath also touched upon next best action and the guidance for the agents. So this is a very similar in that effect. So a contact center environment, typical, sometimes it's more complex, sometimes it's less complex, but you'd often see very similar images within a contact center. What we want to do is we want to take this environment and basically provide the agent assistant panel, which is a very fast time to market implementation. So the implementation is not one that is similar to a unified agent desktop, for example, where you have to integrate all your systems into a single view, but rather layering on top of existing systems. In some cases, we can almost remove the need for agent to access them if we build enough automations to pull and push data into them. But the agent assistant layer that sits on top provides the agent with a few very key and important pieces of data. And it goes through in the way that it helps the agent or powers the agent activity, it goes through the cycle of the call. So as a first step, if there are multiple systems that we need to tap into in order to retrieve information for the agent to look at, to have a view of the customer, and that would be a first step that could be presented here in the agent assist. The authentication piece is of course very, very important depending on different verticals with different processes, but a key part of the call. In some cases, using telephony integration, so CTI, computer telephony integration, we can determine if a customer is already pre-authenticated in the IVR. We can determine call intent if one was captured in the IVR, and we can also retrieve previous interactions of that particular customer with the company in case it's relevant. So that's kind of an initial view, and then moving on from authentication. Immediately, if we're determining the call intent either captured in the IVR or by utilizing the agent assist to analyze the speech and the voice stream that the customer is walking through, then we can already pop for the agent a next best action in the form of a button, which will take them into that particular flow. And then so here comes the second step, which is the guidance, which allows, again, the agent to see what is recommended based on different data inputs that we have. Not everybody has to, you don't have to integrate it to the voice channel and do speech recognition in order to determine intent. It could be simply because of a previous call type or some more basic logic that can be implemented. But recommended flows can be brought forward, and also, of course, allow the agent to search for particular guidance flow. And this is a kind of combination of a knowledge management or a knowledge base, along with the integration. So it's guiding the agent through a particular process, utilizing knowledge and utilizing data points that can be retrieved either via API integration or via RPA-based integration, and then determining the next best step and guiding the agent through the process. So it can go from the greeting phase all the way to handling the specific context of that particular call. This could be a property and casualty insurance type use case where a customer is calling in for a first notice of loss when they were involved in an accident, and the agent assist will kind of guide the customer through the process and automate behind the scenes the relevant actions. Chat can be something that is embedded, and this is something that we can do if we're working in a chat channel versus a voice channel. But also very important is the agent assistant from a chatbot for an agent perspective. So what we're showing here is basically something very similar to what you know in the market today that is exposed to customers to use as chatbots. We offer a very similar solution for the agents, and basically it allows them to interact with the bot to receive answers to their questions. Those answers are contextualized based on the integration that has been implemented, and also can tap into the existing knowledge base to retrieve knowledge articles in a little bit more sophisticated way versus a manual search of an agent within the knowledge base. So again, I mentioned all those points that are on the screen. The knowledge integration is again that piece that I just mentioned. So the chatbot can transition from responding to an agent like a little virtual assistant for the agent, and transition over to a knowledge article that is presented to the customer based on those data points. Just fast forwarding a little bit, intent recognition, of course, is something that we discussed. So early on in the call, determining call intent is very important, but also during the call, we can leverage the voice channel to understand the customer intent and to drive next best action. So it's a combination of both, and any sort of next best action that involve upsell, cross-sell, or any sort of revenue related activities can also be integrated in this flow. It's not just the customer care piece, it can also be implemented in a sales-like environment. And finally, this is maybe just one feature that I'd like to mention, or one functionality that I'd like to mention. It's a little bit tactical, not strategic, but has a lot of value, and that is related to call summary, what we call call summary or automated notes. In many cases, in a contact center environment, definitely in regulated environments, there is a need to document the call at a high level. The Agent Assist has built-in functionality to auto-capture key elements within the call that can be determined needed for the call summary, and automatically capture those along with all the context that is relevant for that. And this is something that we found to drive a lot of value from a handle time perspective, also from a consistency perspective. So you're not relying on different agents to document things in different ways, but rather have a standardized way of documenting calls in cases that it's needed. And it's a really low-hanging fruit. It's something that can come in and you can implement and will drive immediate value from an AHT perspective or after call work perspective. All right. Password vault and other capabilities. When you have a lot of different applications, maybe you're not federated from a logon perspective, from a single sign-on perspective, then our password vault can help agents kind of open up, log on to different applications, keep them logged in, doing all of that in a secure manner that is compliant. And just kind of for the sake of time, I just did want to show you guys This is the designer that we have, and the automations and the user interface for the agent that's built for the agent assist is all maintained within this one platform. So your self-service bots, your employee bots, or agent assist can all be configured and deployed directly from here. And one point of mention is that from an AI and NLP perspective, Jacada does not implement their own NLP or AI, but rather we partner with the leading vendors in the market, the likes of Google Dialogflow, IBM Watson, Microsoft Lewis. So that gives you both the ability to leverage the advancements in technology that those vendors are pushing out to the market, but it also means that if you already have one of these platforms in-house, then we can integrate that or configure the integration into that platform in order to retrieve some of the training and leverage the training of the intents and the entities that you have in your environment within the Jacada environment. So it's a kind of way to bring in value that you already have in-house, just kind of sort of integrate it into the Jacada platform. Okay, couple of case studies real quick. I know we're kind of very short on time. So one is a telco. This is an example of an agent guidance or agent assist implementation. Some of the things that you can see is the average handle time reduction, sales conversion rate were implemented here in a telesales environment. So the sales conversion increased by 2%. Sounds maybe modest, but it's actually very significant. If you combine that with the savings of 2.5 minutes and also able to increase the sales conversion, it's a pretty good result. And to speak to the training piece, then obviously new hires here, as you can see, are hitting the floor faster, which means that the training time is not only reduced, but their time to proficiency post-training is also significantly reduced. And then maybe one more case also within the PNC or the insurance space. This is implemented within a care environment, so customer service. And beyond the average handle time reduction and the training time reduction that you can see here on the screen, just to call out that some of the use cases that were very relevant here, billing inquiries, premium compares, these are use cases that involve quite a bit of data review by the agent. So they have to look at different policies and identify why the premiums have changed between policies. So this is something that we can do for them. The insurance quote lookup involves different systems that you're looking at for different rating factors. So we were able to kind of streamline the entire process, automate the different data retrievals from the different systems, and keep the agent focused on the customer. The dynamic business rules here are there to basically provide the agent with the next best action and the guidance. And finally, automated documentation is pretty much the concept of the call summary that I've reviewed just a few minutes ago. So this has been very successful in this case. Regulated environment, they have to document call completion and what was performed during the call. So this was a very big saving for them in that perspective. And I try to do that as fast as I can, Hans, and so in the interest of everybody's time. So again, thank you very much for your attention here. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Also for sticking to the time frame, Adi. Great. From what I saw and what I've learned today, I remember that in the beginning, we had Gerbillen from Möbius explain to us that RPA is already on a high maturity level. And I think that the 4 use cases that we saw from UiPath, from QuandaGo, SmartConnect, and Jacada are living proof that this is effectively tooling and technology that can help the customers experience a seamless customer experience, and that will certainly assist our customer contact employees to even assist the customers in a better and a faster way. So I think that, well, this looks like a great new innovation for our sector, and by the looks of it, I see that lots of attendees have stayed in this webinar for almost 2 hours. So thank you very much for that. I don't see any reactions in the chat or in the questions. So okay, I think we can start wrapping up this this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. I would like to thank the people from Möbius, from UIPath, QuandaGo, Jacada, and SmartConnect. And like Martin is saying now in the chat, it's time for a real IPA beer right now. Unfortunately, we can't have a drink afterwards and network with each other. But feel free to contact our presenters. Also in the future, should you have questions on RPA, they will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. Please remind that the 20th of January we will have our New Year reception, hopefully with some IPA maybe then, and we'll see you then. Have a great end of the year. And in the meantime, if you have some ideas for us for customer contact on future webinar and events, then please let us know. You all know my email address, I guess, hans@customercontact.be. So once again, thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you very much for everybody attending this webinar, and I hope you have learned a lot on RPA, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.